I am here with Dr. Jacob Wilson from ASPE, which is Applied Science and Performance Institute. You are the founder and CEO and primary researcher with your company. You are here today because we just completed our first ever Faster Way to Fat Loss clinical trial, and I am so jazzed, so excited to hear the results today. You're going to share the results.
Absolutely, yes. We're super excited about it.
So tell me a little bit more about your background, why you started ASPE, when you started ASPE, and then share some of the stats in regard to how many studies you've done, how many articles you've published, because it's pretty astounding.
Oh, absolutely. So, well, for me, like it all starts when I was a kid. My dad always had a vision for us, and he wanted us to help change the world. And he knew science, well, for him, science was kind of the way to do that. And so since I was a little kid, probably, I think when I was 5, I got my first chemistry type set. Yeah.
Was that like helping to score you points with the girls? Or?
Yeah, right. Yeah, that came later, right?
In the lab in high school,
yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, they were interested in that, in high school. But yeah, so but actually, yeah, that's what it was. And my dad's like, hey, science can help change the world. So we did a lot of studies, and we also did a lot of sports.
Oh,
yeah, so which is actually kind of what was so exciting to me about working with you guys with the activity. You know what I mean? Because I do think activity, along with diet and coaching, is the key to transformation.
Yes.
So I ended up doing sport and a lot of research, and went out going into academics. So I taught at Florida State University. Then I went to University of Tampa, and I started a graduate program in exercise and nutrition science. And I had this goal of getting Young Investigator of the Year award. That was like my dream ever since I was in graduate school. When I got my doctorate. And anyway, one day I was doing a lot of research, ended up getting it, and I was in front of a crowd of doctors. And I realized that like the only people who understand this research are these guys in the audience, like other doctors and scientists. And I realized that a lot of research didn't get to the general population, sometimes for 50 years.
Yeah.
And that was a problem because we're so outdated. People don't know about things like carbohydrate cycling and, healthy different types of exercise and stuff like that. It's just behind. So I said, you know what, I can't do this. I want to reach the general population. So I left academics with my colleague, Dr. Ryan Lowry, and we formed ASPI. And that was to bridge the gap between science and application so our research could immediately get to the population. And so that was our goal with starting ASPI. We have done a lot of research, and our goal is really looking at from a cellular, molecular level to a whole body level of what extends lifespan, what optimizes health, what makes people have vitality, optimal body composition, and on those topics we've been blessed enough to publish, over 250 papers.
250 papers. My goodness, how many studies have you done?
I mean, in my lifetime, at least probably 500.
Oh my goodness, that is nuts.
Yeah.
Okay, I am absolutely resonating with your story, and it's interesting that you say when you achieved the award that you were working toward and you're accepting the award and speaking on stage with all these doctors, you realize, wow, I need to get the word out about the research that I'm doing because it can impact more people. I was on stage yesterday speaking about carb cycling to a room of doctors and wellness professionals, and it was kind of similar. I'm like, man, it's a very small room and space, and I can only make a bit of an impact here, where if I am able to take my company digital and really expand the knowledge around these strategies, that's better. But what is exciting for me with working with ASPE and alongside you and Dr. Ryan Lowry is our ability now to say, not only have we heard from 386,380 clients that their lives are better because of Faster Way, but now we can actually prove with science that our strategies work. I've known that they work for 7, 8 years, but now we have the backing of a clinical trial, which gives us an additional level of credibility. And admittedly, I told you this right before we started recording, I haven't dove into the results yet. I haven't really looked through it because I wanted you to communicate and share with me the results. The only thing that I've seen is you emailed me and you said, fat loss without the accompanying muscle loss is genuinely rare, making the results of our clinical trial even more outstanding. And so that got me jazzed, and I can't wait to take a deep dive and hear more
Absolutely.
on that. So let's talk about how a clinical trial works and share some of the testing that we had our clients go through. Is that what they're called? Patients, clients, members? What?
Yeah, so we call them,
Participants?
we call them either in a clinical trial, we usually call them participants or subjects.
Okay.
And
Subjects, I like that.
Yeah.
Faster way subjects.
Yeah, faster way subjects, yeah, exactly. And the key to a clinical trial is you want to have a control group, and then you want to have the actual experimental group.
Yep.
In which case, faster is the experimental group here.
Okay.
And the control group, basically, we ended up educating them on what general health recommendations are.
Yeah.
Which general health recommendations are: minimize fat as much as you can and have as high carbs all the time as you can. I mean, that's what it generally is. Low fat, really high carb, but that's general health recommendations,
I
right?
heard that they essentially followed the American Heart Association
Yes,
recommendations.
yeah.
I'm sure they took a look at that government food guide pyramid
Yeah,
too.
that was the control group.
Cannot
Yeah.
wait to hear about
Yeah.
Faster Way versus the control group.
Yeah.
So Faster Way is called the experimental
The experimental group.
Okay, and then we have
Because it's different than the
Yeah.
general recommendations.
So the Faster Way subjects versus the control group subjects. The Faster Way subjects are following our app.
Yep.
They're working with a coach, and the control group is following the American Heart Association
Guidelines.
and kind of food guide pyramid protocols and guidelines. Okay,
Yeah.
so interesting. So what studies did you do, or what
Yeah.
testing?
So this is, I would say, the most extensive analysis that's probably ever been done on any fitness app, and that's for real. Like,
What?
yeah,
What, the most extensive experiments or testing on any fitness app?
yeah,
Really?
without a doubt, yeah, without a doubt.
That's huge.
It's huge. I mean, we tested so many things, and it's not just the thing is. Here's the thing, Amanda. When you look at like apps, a lot of times fitness people, they'll say things that like are different, but they're like not safe.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, is that we actually did an extensive like safety panel. We looked at kidney function, liver function, heart function, like mineral status, all sorts of things, electrolytes, you name it. In the blood, we looked at everything. Yeah, so that was one thing. And then two, we also did extensive scanning. So this wasn't just like calipers. We did X-ray scanning of these individuals, which allows us to compartmentalize their fat mass.
Yeah.
But we also were able to look at things like muscle mass, bone mass, and we were also able to look at something called visceral fat, which I'm sure we'll talk later, which is fat around the organs that people don't see. And we looked at a lot of other parameters like body image and things of that nature.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and biological measures like biological age and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
really a lot of cool things.
Biological age is very trendy right now.
Yeah.
I think Kris Jenner on the Kardashians recently did some sort of testing and found
Yeah.
out she was like 62 biological age, or it's like she's actually 70 but appears as 62. So
Yeah.
it's very trendy right now. I'm glad that you guys
Yeah.
looked into that. So I went to ASPE and did just a few of the tests to kind of get a firsthand experience. I did a DEXA scan.
Yep.
I did a little finger prick, probably for blood sugar.
Yeah,
I would imagine.
you
Was
did.
it the
And-
H1?
Yeah, hemoglobin
Yeah,
A1C.
A1C. Okay, A1C. And I did a strength test
Yep.
with a bar for deadlift.
Yeah.
And was able to track my increase in strength over 6 weeks. But keep in mind, for everyone listening, this is simply a 6-week time span
Yeah,
that we
very
tested
short-
people.
yeah,
This
yep.
isn't even, because many times the 6-week program for our clients is the jumpstart. It's
Yeah.
laying the foundation of strategies. But then when we're really unlocking results is in the VIP membership.
Yeah.
We didn't even study the VIP transition. We only studied the 6-week app experience. I'm still stuck at the fact that you say it's the most comprehensive clinical trial on any fitness app ever. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God, that's incredible. Okay, so let's dive in to talking about the results. And by the way, how many people did we study? Was it 40 people overall?
Yeah, it was a 42 overall.
Okay,
Yeah.
great,
Yeah.
perfect. So I know that our people lost fat.
Yep.
And they did not lose muscle, but share with me a little bit more, like how does it compare to the control group?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the biggest thing to understand is like if you look at our society, we're getting hit by so many different things, right? All the conveniences are in our society basically don't allow us to get the normal movement that we might get. Things like steps go down, where office jobs impact us, and so that we're sedentary all day at the office. There's stress, all this stuff that's hitting us, and we're not adapting. So if you look after the age of 25, people gain 1 to 2 pounds per year of fat after the age of 25. But you know what's interesting is that like by the time someone reaches maybe like 50, 60, their weight actually is the same as when they were 25. So if they're gaining 1 to 2 pounds of fat and they're 50, 60, but their weight's staying the same, what's happening? They're
losing muscle.
they're losing muscle and gaining
Yes.
fat. So, and what happens is we go through these periods of time, and a lot of times they're 6 weeks, so it could be a New Year's resolution where people are like, man, I'm gaining fat. And they gain fat, so what do? I'm gonna go on a diet. And they might follow like a fitness app, and what do we see? If you look at the majority of studies, you see on average 30 to 40%, maybe 30 to 50%. In fact, I've seen studies where 50 to 60% of the weight loss is actually muscle.
Yes.
And that's a big problem.
Well, we recently spoke about new weight loss shots, or not new, but very popular weight loss shots, like for example, Ozempic, on the market right now that are creating weight loss, but causing substantial muscle loss.
Substantial muscle loss.
And we often say in our community, think about where you want to be at the end of your life. I want to live to 120. We know that humans can live to 120. I want to live to 100 because I have a lot of work to do here on this earth. I have a big impact to make. But how do I want to be when I'm 120 or 110 or 100? I want to be strong. I want to have muscle. I want to have the ability to get up and walk and exercise and right up until the end. So what do I need? I need muscle. If I am withering away and losing more muscle, then I won't have the quality of life that I'm really looking for with that longevity. So I totally agree with you. Most diets on the market, most fitness apps, they will support a deficit diet where you are losing weight, but you are unable to maintain that skeletal muscle mass, and you're losing muscle, which is going to negatively impact you long term. So yeah, that I totally agree with you. And that's a big reason that we do what we do with carb cycling and tracking macros, eating more protein. Fasting does help with the maintenance of skeletal muscle mass as well.
And that's huge because when people lose muscle, the majority of studies show people just regain everything they lost. It's because they lost the muscle mass and their metabolism was impacted.
Yes.
So what does that mean? If you lose muscle and then you get back to the same weight you were, you're worse off than you were before. Because now you're at the same weight, but your metabolism's lower.
Right.
So yeah, so that's a big problem. And I think I think we can get into the mechanisms of that, but going into this study, I think that was a thing that was, listen, when you look at results, the results are what they are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And in fact, unfortunately next week, I have to tell a company the results aren't good.
No.
Yeah, so, and that, it's one of those things. It is what it is.
I have to say, even though, again, I have seen 386,380 people have success in my program, I was still a little nervous. I'm like, what if the people in the Faster Way experimental group don't comply? What if they had some underlying condition? Because we didn't, necessarily know who it was. Like I didn't know who these people were in the Faster Way group. So I wasn't in a situation where I could be like, I'm the CEO of the company. I need you to do X, Y, Z and make sure you're really complying. So I was a little nervous. I'm like, we're investing in this. We're telling our certified coaches and our community about this. What if, something happens and the results aren't good? So I'm just so happy we're sitting here now and you're saying people lost fat and didn't lose muscle. I mean, that's the whole thing. It's the faster way to fat loss.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. We are able to optimize and maximize our metabolism by maintaining or increasing muscle and at the same time burning fat.
Exactly.
That's the key. That's the whole goal.
Exactly right, yeah. And you see trends for like the muscle mass even going up.
Yeah, wow.
Which over a short period of time. Because,
6 weeks.
Yeah. And that's kind of like when people start to get that toned like look.
Yep.
It's kind of what you're seeing in our scanning.
Yeah, and that's a big reason we do carb cycling. Carb cycling, which is the intentional variation of carbohydrate intake, strategically helps us burn fat while gaining muscle. It's a lean bulk, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so that's key. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the other results. Let's kind of drill down. I was told that there was a visceral fat component, and then also I want to touch on cholesterol.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So most people don't know about visceral fat. It's one of those things. You could even have people who are, quote, thinner, who have high amounts of visceral fat. And you wonder why, like, wait, why does this person who's thin have diabetes?
Yeah.
Well, visceral fat is fat around the organs. And it causes a lot of inflammation and cardiovascular disease and is associated with mortality, meaning like people will die sooner with more visceral fat. So it's like a lot of this poor diet, poor movement, too high carbs, but the interesting thing about it is what we thought was really interesting is that when we scanned them and we looked at their visceral fat, in only a 6-week period of time, we saw almost a 5% decline in visceral fat.
Great.
And that I wasn't expecting, which by the way, that's a lot. Yeah.
High five to that. I'm so happy. So 5% decline in visceral fat, which is the bad fat, you guys. That's the dangerous fat.
Yeah.
In only 6 weeks. And again, it's literally our jumpstart. It's the new client orientation. We say, this is your kickstart. This is your jumpstart. We expect you to stay with us for a long period of time. So once they get into VIP, we're then really unlocking those more substantial results. I tell clients, it's going to take about 6 to 8 weeks for you to see changes, 12 weeks for other people to notice. But we were just at that 6-week mark when they were studied. So 5% decrease of visceral fat, that's phenomenal.
It is. It's big time. And again, that's really predictive of long-term. You talk about living 120 years. A lot of times the thing is that people just think about like just weight loss, but there's also like you want to stay young.
Yeah.
And I define anti-aging as basically a decrease in the probability of death, disease, and suffering.
Yes. Ooh, say that again.
Yeah, a decrease in the probability of death, disease, and suffering.
Yes.
So anytime you knock off or lower something that increases the probability of death, disease, and suffering, I am suggesting that you're creating an anti-aging effect. And so biologically, that's what I would suggest that's doing.
Yeah, I love that. That's fantastic. So let's talk about cholesterol. And then I want to also hear about the biological age because you had mentioned that earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. So with cholesterol, the interesting thing is we saw also a significant decline in cholesterol as well, like total cholesterol as well.
Great.
So again, that's always a concern for a lot of people. And I think one thing I see, and you look at statistics, especially when people start to hit around midlife, they go to the doctors and what do? Let me prescribe you a cholesterol medication, right? And the problem with that is there's a lot of side effects with that, a lot of side effects.
Yeah.
One of those side effects is muscle loss, muscle weakness, all sorts of problems that it's actually accelerating problems we have left. So you're trying to attack one thing with a medication, and people just think they have a license now. Oh, I'm taking a medication now, I can just keep living a poor lifestyle.
Yeah.
But
how did the decrease in cholesterol for the Faster Way experimental group compare with the control group that was following the American Heart Association guidelines?
Well, with those guidelines, with you have carb cycling, and then that basically it's like their suggestions are always high carbs.
Right.
So you kind of expect what you see. You see the trend for the opposite happening in that group in almost everything, right?
Wow.
A trend for increase in fat mass, a trend for increase in cholesterol, a trend for increase in visceral fat.
Oh my gosh. So we
Yeah.
decreased cholesterol
Yeah.
and they increased cholesterol.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. It frustrates me, Dr. Wilson, that the American Heart Association still has these crappy guidelines.
Yeah.
I don't even know what better word to use. The government food pyramid is such a joke, and unfortunately, it's confusing people.
It
and
is confusing.
It's, I feel like at Faster Way, we take one step forward and we're able to get the word out, and we have, a substantial number of clients. And then I hear a podcast 2 days ago on this very big platform, and this doctor comes on and he is saying, most people don't need more than 50 grams of protein. 95% of people eat enough protein because you can get protein from pasta. That's what he
Wow.
says. A doctor on a podcast that has millions and millions and millions of listeners. But that's what we're up against. We're up against these government recommendations from doctors who have a massive platform and are saying things like, you can get enough protein from pasta. He
horrible. It's
literally
horrible.
says that, from
Yeah.
pasta. So this is extremely encouraging. The Faster Way experimental group decreased cholesterol.
Mm-hmm.
The control group increased cholesterol. We decreased visceral fat. The control group increased visceral fat. And these are people that are trying to live a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, they're trying, yeah. And
Oh
that's sad.
my gosh.
And that's
It
what we
is
see in our
sad.
society. We see this trend for increase in fat mass
In just
over
6
time.
weeks.
Yeah.
By following the government recommendations for a healthy lifestyle, that is nuts. Okay,
Yeah.
let's talk about biological age. What were the results with biological age?
Yeah, so what we saw statistical trends basically
Mm-hmm.
for like an average of close to 3 years, like 2.7 years, like decrease in biological.
What?
Yeah. So that
Wait. Say that again.
yeah. So we saw basically statistical trends for like an average of close to like 2.7 years.
So the Faster Way experimental group, on average, decreased their biological age by 3 years, 2.7 years.
Yeah, they're moving in that direction basically.
That is incredible. In 6 weeks.
Yeah.
What about the control group?
They pretty much stayed the same.
Okay, they stayed
Yeah.
the same. So
Yeah.
we decreased and they stayed the same.
Yeah.
That's good news for a lot of the women out here. we
Well, hey,
want to
you know?
get younger.
Hey. And you can. That's the thing. You
Oh my
can. You look
gosh.
at chronological age. It's like, okay, I'm moving around. It's how many times I moved around the sun.
Yeah.
But you can change your biology. You can become younger biologically.
Yeah. So we are planning to get this clinical trial published in a journal. What are the next steps for us, or how do you see this information being shared so that we can impact even more lives in a positive way?
Yeah, absolutely. So what people have to understand when you talk about a publication,
Yeah.
it's one of the most rigorous scientific processes ever.
Yeah.
So we take this work in this experiment, and it goes before a scientific board, basically.
Wow.
Blind scientific experts in the field review it, and then they go, okay, we're going to read it, we're going to scrutinize this, and when it goes through this rigorous process, then it gets published in an official scientific journal.
Wow.
So yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay,
Yeah.
this is so exciting. I am truly jazzed. I'm thrilled for our certified coaches. I'm thrilled for our Faster Way community. I'm thrilled for the world because now we have the most science-backed fitness app out there, according to you,
Yeah.
which is huge.
That's huge.
Jacob, this is massive.
It's massive, yeah.
You can tell I'm kind of the emotional one here. You're kind of a steady Eddie, but holy cow, this is great. And the cool thing is, we're continuing to add features to our app to improve. We're going to be bringing in gamification so that we can help motivate people to really stay on course with workouts. We're going to be bringing in more customization and personalization on the nutrition side, which is going to help quite a bit as well. So we have some really nice plans on the roadmap for 2024. And this is like the fuel that I needed to justify every possible investment and expense that we're putting into the Faster Way app in particular. So I'm just so grateful, and I can't wait for our next study because we need to study VIPs now.
Oh, we're excited about that for sure. Absolutely.
Let's do it. Maybe we could bring some coaches in, get them in that DEXA scan.
Yeah, let's do
study
it.
some coaches too. That'd be so fun.
That would be
well,
great.
Thank you so much, Dr.
my pleasure.
Wilson.
Absolutely.
We
It's my
really,
pleasure.
we're so thrilled about the partnership, and it's been so wonderful and easy working with you guys. And I hope that you, if you're listening, Fasterway family, you enjoyed hearing about these results. It's pretty remarkable. We'll have to share some more details and maybe a press release here soon. But thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. Absolutely.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone. Oh my God. Yeah!
Dude. Like, I know she's gonna